It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. And now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, it's showtime. What's happening, everybody? The Geno Jones Show. I know you figured it out. You can read. Just in case, not everybody's able, not everybody can read. So I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. in Chicago, 3:30 p.m. out on the West Coast. And if you're out there in Maui, out in Hawaii, chilling, man, lucky devil, I ain't mad at you. I wish I was there. It is 1:30. Please, you and everybody, listen to me, everybody, or as Nelly would say, everybody subscribe to the Geno Jones Show. Subscribe. You can copy the link and paste it, text it, email it, put it on somebody's Twitter page, on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, what's the other one? Snapchat, all of them, even the ones I don't know about. Ask your kids about, because they know about all of that. Please subscribe to the Geno Jones Show. My goal is to get 100,000 new subscribers for 2023. So help a brother out. I appreciate you. My subscribers have grown dramatically in the last 2 years. It's incredible. The viewership is amazing because of you. The show is continuing to grow and be one of the fastest growing shows on YouTube because of you. All right. Let me get right into today's show. Happy birthday to my Pisces, celebrating birthdays today, because today is a very, very special, very personal day for me. I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. First of all, happy birthday to my man, Will I Am. Remember the video for Barack Obama, his first campaign, Yes We Can? It was basically something Barack Obama said. He put it to song, rapper for the Black Eyed Peas. Will I Am is 48 today. One of my favorite people, period, the head football coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the National Football League. I love to see black men, black women, black people, but especially brothers, because we get it hard. Black women get it hard because they got to deal with racism, sexism, and misogyny. But black men, especially black men, that stay true to who they are and true to the cause of equity and freedom and equality for their community. Because when black folks are free and when black folks get equity socially, racially, financially, because you can't have racial justice without financial justice, economic justice. The two are connected. Anyway, I digress. Not going down that rabbit hole, but I'm talking about a man, Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin, head football coach for the Steelers. All you Steelers fans, black and gold, repping today. He won a Super Bowl back in 2009, beat the Arizona Cardinals. Mike Tomlin is 51 today. And Sylvester Stewart. Are you saying, okay, wait a minute, gee, who is Sylvester Stewart? Sylvester is the dude, Rocky? No, not that dude. No. Sly Stone, the front man, the leader of Sly and the Family Stone. And if you're like under 40 and you don't know who Sly Stone is, Google him. Because Prince, Rick James, you wouldn't have got Prince or Rick James if it wasn't for Sly Stone. As a matter of fact, if Prince was alive, he would tell you that. You can Google it yourself and then Google Sly Stone's influence on Prince, and you'll see it in his own words. Man, this brother was in one of the baddest bands ever. You did not want to come behind Sly and the Family Stone. You just didn't. So Sly Stone, and he's got a reputation of not showing up to a lot of them shows, or being so high as a kite. So Sly and the Family Stone. Sly Stone is 80 today. So is Sly stoned on his 80th birthday? You get that? Sly Stone, high, whatever. Happy birthday, Sly. Happy heavenly birthday to the man that had the biggest influence on my life, still to this day. To this day. A man who I was blessed and I was honored to be able to spend literally every day of the first roughly 20 years of my life with my late grandfather, Conway Jones, who you hear me quote many times on this show, many of his pearls of wisdom. Happy heavenly birthday, Dad. I hope you're proud of me. I really do that, because that would mean a lot. He used to always tell me, he would say, Jeannie, I don't want any money from you. I don't need anything from you. I just want you to remember me and appreciate me. And I remember you, Dad, and I appreciate you. And I am so much of who you were and who you made me into be just by spending time growing up sharing a bedroom with you, because it was six of us. It was my two sisters in the back bedroom, and mom and mother shared the front bedroom, and you and I shared the middle bedroom. You had your two sewing machines. So happy heavenly birthday to Conway Jones. He was born on this day way back in 1888, and rest in peace to Bobby Caldwell. He had a big hit way back in the day, 1978. People have sampled it. Folks loved his brother, blue-eyed soul brother, white dude, but he had the soul, and he was true and honored the culture. His big hit was "What You Won't Do for Love, What You Won't Do for Love." Dun, 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 dun. So Google that song, "What You Won't Do for Love." Bobby Caldwell, he passed today, 71 years old. So rest in peace, power, and paradise. All right, so the theme, the caption for today's show is "Wake Up Everybody." They're coming for you. I'm not just talking about a song by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes featuring one Theodore Teddy Pendergrass singing lead. Wake up everybody, no more sleeping in bed. So, here's an example. South Carolina, right here in this state, South Carolina ninth grader is suing her school, the school board, teacher, the principal. They tried to force this young lady to say the Pledge of Allegiance. As a matter of fact, she was walking to her class, and apparently a teacher and I believe a principal basically assaulted the girl. They pushed her up against the wall because she did not want to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, here in the state of South Carolina, even though I believe in elementary school, maybe high schools, I know elementary schools, by law, South Carolina State Code requires the schools to play the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of the school day. But what that school code does not require, it does not require every student to say the Pledge of Allegiance. They can opt out of it if they want to, as long as they're not being, and I'm paraphrasing, disruptive. So if they're not causing a ruckus and yelling and screaming or whatever, if they're just sitting there being quiet or engaging in their own silent prayer or just sitting there and minding their business, walking to class. It doesn't say they can't walk during the Pledge of Allegiance. So you had a teacher, two grown people, and a principal going to try to make this child say the Pledge of Allegiance. And so I did a little research. So apparently the young lady said the reason that she has not been standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, because it talks about liberty and justice for all, but she says, in America, I don't see justice for all. Smart young lady. Speaking of that, and we'll keep you updated as when if this case, if the lawsuit, if it goes to trial, if they settle it. I'm working, and I believe, and I'm producing my show in real time right now. I got a feeling that my guest, who's about to come up in 30 seconds, probably got a contact with his family. So I'm going to try to get this young lady and her family and their lawyer on the show. But speaking of justice, this brother is he's an activist. He's a social justice warrior. He's a freedom fighter. He's got many titles. I'll let him share all that. He is a regular contributor to the Geno Jones Show, especially political season. He has been predicting a lot what you see in terms of a lot of these laws that are trying to take your rights. And he's been banging this drum about how we, as black people, people of color, specifically black and brown people, have to make sure that we get on school boards, because there's been a plan with that whole MAGA cult mentality to take over school boards. All this about, anti-wokeness. And let me just set the record straight before I bring AJ on. So when you hear people talking about anti-woke, even some black folks like Chris Rock, whose comedy special I enjoyed, but the beginning of his comedy special, I like, okay, are you doing a comedy special for like Fox News or Steve Bannon or for Netflix? When you hear people talk about anti-woke, that means they are pro-racism, pro-sexism, pro-misogyny, because they want to be allowed to be racist, sexist, misogynistic, homophobic, anti-religious bigots, anti-immigrant bigots and racists. And they want to be not just allowed to do it, they want to be allowed to do it. They don't want to be called out on their racism and hatred and bigotry and sexism and misogyny and homophobia. They want to put it in law. Basically, what happened right after the Civil War, you had that period, a little over 10 years of Reconstruction, where you had all these black men and women who were U.S. senators. You had several, you had at least two, if not more, several black men who were in the U.S. Senate right here from the state of South Carolina. And then all the enslavers and that ilk was like, hey, hold on, wait a minute. Man, we owned you, and now you are a U.S. Senator and you're writing laws? Oh, hell no. And that's how you came up with the Jim Crow laws and segregation. Then it happened again after the Black Power movement and the Civil Rights movement and the Voting Rights Act. And when all that happened in the late 60s, early 70s, you had all these cities with black mayors. Gary, Indiana, right next to Chicago. Late 60s, early 70s, Carl Stokes in Cleveland, Ohio. You had Coleman Young in Detroit, Michigan. You had Tom Bradley, black man mayor in L.A. They was like, oh no, and that's how we got Ronald Reagan and that whole Reagan mentality. And now, after what happened from Barack Obama to just the racial reckoning with the murder of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, then all the racists was like, oh hell no. We gotta basically take their word and try to flip it and use it against them. So, anti-woke means we want to be racist, because you need to be awake. Because when you are awake, you can keep an eye on people who basically want to take away all your rights and freedoms. So without any further delay, my social justice warrior brother, AJ Davis. I'm sorry, AJ, I got a little carried away there at the end. I got on a riff. You and I had this. So AJ and I, we had like a pre-show meeting. So we could have just streamed that phone call conversation we had. But I'm going to pass the mic. You have been beating the drum about between school boards and legislation and how this whole, I'm just going to call it what it is, this movement rooted in racism and hatred and misogyny, sexism and homophobia, how it's rooted, and you got politicians that are co-opting these people who want to take us back 200 years and their fears, and they're using that fear for political power. And they start, not even in the mayor's office or alder people or council people, they start, and you've been saying it, they start on school boards by getting on local school boards.
Thank you, Geno. And yeah, listening to your monologue, you are, as usual, spot on. And I want to continue thanking you for using your platform to empower, edutain the masses, to make sure that not only do we know what's going on in entertainment, we know what's going on in the world. And let me start off by saying this. A lot of talk and rhetoric gets put out there, especially in the Black community, about the usefulness of things like voting and how we view voting, whether or not Black people in Black communities actually benefit from voting. And I'm here to say right now that, as far as I'm concerned, that type of rhetoric is white supremacy. Because, in essence, we live in a society that has demonstrated repeatedly that it is not going to give anything to Black people except a hard time. And so, until we understand how to build capacity, how to make sure that we are politically literate. That's what I want us to understand. So first, let's jump into folks here in South Carolina. South Carolina, I was at the State House today in a Senate Education Subcommittee about the South Carolina Transparency and Integrity Act. All that is basically South Carolina's version of the um, Stop Woke Act from Florida. And I want people to understand, regardless of where they are, Florida gets a lot of attention because Ron DeSantis is a front runner for the White House. He, the media loves to, drum up his name and, the rhetoric. But Florida is one of many. The entire South, and I mean
That part.
the entire South, is a hotbed of legislation like this. And I also want people to understand that this is not just about denying the teaching of history, because I hear a lot of media personalities frame it as that. These people don't give a damn about history, not as it relates to us. They don't care. They are thinking about the present and future. And so what they are looking at with a lot of these bills is ways to stifle conversations that started to arise during the 2020 social justice summer, where white kids were coming home having some real challenging conversations with their families. Everybody was on lockdown. TikTok became a thing where everybody was there watching videos, and you saw a lot of white kids talking about how they were having some real knockdown, drag out conversations with their parents and families.
Yes,
A
sir.
lot of social media posts were about how white white kids were challenging their families about long held racist beliefs. So this isn't about the teaching of accurate history. Those people could give a damn about history. This is about the control of the minds of the masses of white children.
Say it right there.
What information that white children have access to moving forward. This is about how do you stem the tide of yet another civil rights renaissance. Because what a lot of folks saw in 2020 was you had corporations, you had politicians, everybody was Black Lives Matter. You had people renaming streets Black Lives Matter Way. You had corporations pledging money and in some cases putting positions in place for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well, here we are 3 years later.
Let's add
Three
this in
years
there, AJ,
later,
because this is important. Throw this in there. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's important. These racist Confederate statues, even like the ones
mm-hmm,
here, coming down,
mm-hmm,
being taken down.
yes,
Oh,
yes,
they didn't like that at all.
absolutely. And so, the thing that the buzzword was DEI and things of that nature.
Which
Corporate
is
statements
diversity.
were
For
being
folks who
made.
may not know, tell them what that means. DEI.
DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so corporations started making pledges to increase their diversity within their ranks. Even municipalities started, saying we're going to take a look at how diverse our staff and how diverse are the contracts that we award. That was just 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And fast forward to 2023, and in the state of Florida, to go back there, Ron DeSantis has pushed for a bill, HB 999, which basically eradicates and obliterates the concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion
Yes.
in Florida state higher education and government. This bill, for folks who may not be aware, actually eliminates on state college campuses and universities studies such as gender or feminist studies, Latino or Latinx and Jewish studies, of course, LGBTQIA plus, and African American and Indigenous studies. It also allows for the withdrawal of support and standing on college campuses of Black Greek letter fraternities and sororities. So one of the things that allowed for many Black students, especially students going to PWIs, to have some semblance of a safe space or a feeling of belonging
And
was to
and
be
AJ, explain.
affiliated.
Let me jump in. Explain to him what does PWI mean for those who may not know.
Predominantly white institution, which is pretty much at least 80 to 85% of the colleges and universities in the United States. So when many Black people went to a PWI, you know, either by joining directly or being affiliated with the activities of members of the Divine Nine, which are your Black Greek letter organizations like your Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, or Alpha Kappa Alpha. So those organizations help to stabilize and put a cultural imprint for many Black students to navigate what would oftentimes be a very complex and challenging environment.
Yes.
So this bill, HB 999, seeks to basically strip that away, and it's by design. But I also want people to know that a variation of this bill is in all southern states. You need to, if you are not someone that is familiar with your state government, okay, and Geno, you and I have talked about this for years, especially in the Black community. Folks just focused on the presidency, that's, and people talk in the polarizing platitudes of Republican, Democrat with no real substance. They just more often than not repeated talking points they either read or saw on the news. Now, everyone, especially if you are Black, if you are not connected in some way with what is happening at your state level government and your local level, that's city council, county council, town council, and school board, then you are putting yourself and your family and your community at risk, because these people are coming. It's more than just education. I want to emphasize that to everyone watching. This isn't just about what teachers can teach. This isn't just about banning books. This is about ripping the heart out of progressive movements.
And
It's
jumping
about
in, hey, let me throw this in because this is so important. And breaking news. I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret. They not just coming for Black folks. Hello, white women, all women, your reproductive freedom, South Carolina. There are politicians who they have written a bill or a piece of, it's not law yet, but they want it to be law. AJ can
yes.
co-sign. You were just up in Columbia. It started off with like 20. I don't know if they were state senators or
Mm-hmm.
state legislators that
Mm-hmm.
want to make it not just illegal for a woman to have an abortion, but to want to allow a woman to get the death penalty for getting an abortion. Did y'all hear what I
And
said? So they're
death
not just
penalty.
coming for Black folks, AJ, and you know that, but I just thought we needed, because that's a big part. That's all part of it. Am I right or wrong?
You are right. And I need people to understand, I think we have become conditioned to be very apathetic and indifferent. But yes, this isn't just an attack on Black people. As a matter of fact, they are literally playing cultural Russian roulette with everyone. So while this week it'll be Black people that may get some media hype, next week it'll be the LGBTQIA. The following week it may be the Jewish community, trans community, indigenous community. But the reality of it is all non-white, non-Christian, non-conservative communities are in the crosshairs of these actions. They literally want to establish without any doubt white, conservative, Christian, patriarchal domination.
A
That's
theocracy.
what this is.
And I know you want to talk about
Yes.
that. A theocracy, which is what,
Yes.
I mean, we fought a revolutionary war because we didn't want monarchy and we didn't want a theocracy, means that one religion rules the whole
Mm-hmm.
country. America is about your freedom. You don't even have to believe in God. You have that
But
free.
let me
That's
tell you,
your First Amendment right starts right there.
Gino, you said that I believe that we were raised in our interpretation of that. But one thing that I saw today, and I've seen in our local school boards, there's a contingent of these individuals, many of whom will say they are identified as Christian. They bring terms like morality. They try to say that the state should not take the role of the parent. But these individuals have obliterated the line that is the separation of church and state. It is amazing how much they've been able to bulldoze fundamentalist Christian nationalism masquerading as freedom of religion into many of these conversations and into a lot of this legislation. Today, every individual that spoke, and I gotta say this because I told you about it when we were talking earlier. Black folks, I need you to understand. You need to check on your people, because in the midst of these folks, these white Christian nationalists, they had a sprinkling of us in there. And as a matter of fact, if you pay attention, because in order in their minds to mask their racism, they try to go find some black or brown or minority voices to prop up and say, oh, well, we can't be racist, these folks believe like us. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. All that is an attempt to take away from the fact that this is being pushed by conservative libertarian interests who want to destroy the progressive framework in our society. They want schools to not be able to provide people with increasing their intellectual capacity. They want colleges and universities to just churn out compliant workers that can be plugged into whatever industry. Let's look at what just happened, to take an aside, with Silicon Valley Bank, which was nothing more than basically a slush fund for white tech startups. You know what I'm saying? I'm listening to a lot of the news coverage, and I'm reading some of the articles. Basically, black startups don't get funding from banks like Silicon Valley Bank. But to tie that into what's happening, you would not even be able to have any redress, any ability to complain about that if these laws get passed. That's why it is so critical, so critical. And here's what we need to do, because I know we tend to talk a lot about the issue. What can we do?
Thank you. Yes.
Next, next year's election, the media is already trying to drum up the talking points of the presidency. Here's the thing. Those of us that paid attention to the seating of the new Congress this year, it should have been evident that it's not the president, but the Congress that carries a significant amount of power between our three branches. The Congress. So we need to make sure that in every U.S. congressional race, we are seeking candidates to run against these incumbents. We need to do the same thing at the state level. The state level, we have two houses in the state level like we do on the federal level. We
Senate
have
and
a
House.
state
Yeah.
Senate and House. Right now, there are 124 members of the House. 86 of them are Republican.
Wow.
So that means that they have a supermajority. So when people say, well, the Democratic Party isn't doing anything, that's debatable, but they can't because they don't have the numbers. So you can't expect a group to fight. And here's the thing. Here's the thing for the people who claim to be politically savvy. Republicans have been spreading this lie about what the Democrats have done. The last time the Democrats had a majority, not a large, but a majority in the House, was 1992. The last time the Democrats had a majority in the Senate was 1996. That's damn near 30 years ago
Yeah.
in both instances. And the last Democratic governor was Jim Hodges. So whenever Republicans start talking about and trying to paint this picture as if Democrats and Republicans have had equal time, that's a lie. So what we need to do is start looking at our maps. Website, Geno, and I'm gonna repeat this:
Thank you.
www.s as in Sam, C as in cat, votes, votes.gov. If you live in South Carolina, go to that website. If you don't live in South Carolina, Google your state's election commission. Here's why. In addition to making sure that we're registered to vote and that we know when these elections that are coming up, who's running, we also need to be able to check to make sure that we are still, those of us who are already registered, that we're still registered. There are states that are purging people without any notice.
Yes.
There are states that are moving people out of their respective precincts without any notice. Okay, and you find out when you go to vote that you thought you were in precinct 3, you're now in precinct 4, and then where precinct 4's polling place is across town. So we need to make sure that we have a proactive approach. That's the voting side. Here's the other piece that we have to start galvanizing our community around, We got to stop sitting on the bench, or we ain't even on the bench. We at the back of the stadium. We don't even have a seat inside the arena. We need to start putting people in the game. We need to start putting financial and human resources into running candidates at all levels.
Say
You don't
that.
like the Democratic Party, you don't like the Republican Party, fine. Look on the ballot. There are multiple different parties in our state that you could run on a platform for. But what we can't afford anymore is for folks to sit on social media pontificating, regurgitating talking points that are more often than not a part of a disinformation campaign that they're not even aware of, and we're not putting the resource in last year's midterm election. What was truly sad, you had a sister running for governor, you had a sister running for U.S. senator, you had a sister running for secretary of state,
Mm.
and the majority of people didn't even know. You can attribute that to lack of communication, but it's on us.
Yes.
It truly is. I'm gonna pause there because we could go on, but I want to give you a chance to close out the show.
Well, listen, because we got about a minute left. So next week, we got to run it back. I know you're busy, but it's that time. So we want to have you on at least once a week. We're gonna run it back. We're gonna talk about economics and where we allow our children to attend college. All right, because, and I've said this before, if I can't appeal to your sense of humanity, empathy, compassion, decency, and morality, I can get your attention by digging in your pockets. So we're going to have to start digging in these states' pockets and not support them. Look, nobody loves South Beach more than me, but as long as Governor Too Short is governor of Florida, DeSantis, I'm not going to Disney. I ain't going to South Beach. I don't care if Janet Jackson, Beyonce, and Jesus are performing at the Hard Rock Stadium. I ain't going if it's in Florida. So we need to have a wake-up call and a reckoning on South Carolina, all these southern states, and stop allowing our children to attend schools in these states. AJ, I got about 30 seconds. We'll see you next week. Let everybody know where they can follow you on social media.
Facebook, Anjane Davis, Anjene Davis. On Twitter, Anjane1976. Follow me on those two platforms. Also, Anjane Davis on TikTok.
Send this episode to somebody. Play it back. This is Must See TV. AJ, thank you, brother. Love and respect. We'll see you next week. Great
Yes,
job,
sir.
man. Thank you.
All
This
right.
brother is fire. I keep telling you all. You talking about the truth? This brother is speaking the truth. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you. you, and especially you, and God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. in Chicago, 3:30 p.m. out in Los Angeles. Please, everybody you know, subscribe. This is Must See TV. This is the episode. Had an episode last week that had over 100 views in a day. This episode needs to have like 100,000. So share this episode, copy this link, send it, screen grab, put it up on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, put it on somebody else's YouTube page, copy the link and send it to them. Because this episode is Must See TV. This is the road to our own freedom and salvation. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Shout out to Mr. Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. Check him out on Instagram, IG. Kel be cutting up, because Kel be cutting his ass up. KELBECUTTINUP. Allie Jones, the drip director, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist. Look out, Ruth E. Carter, because Allie Jones is on her way. Check her out on Instagram, LX.NCL_, that little dash below. LX.NCL_. And Bruce Gage, also wardrobe consultant and stylist for the Geno Jones Show. Check him out on Instagram, on IG, Miglio Di Mario Uomo. MIGLIODIMARIOUOMO. Miglio Di Mario Uomo. The next live edition of the Geno Jones Show is going to be Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, everybody, watching me live. Thank you. Shout out to Groove Master Dre, my #1 fan, my executive producer, my unpaid executive producer, my mother, Mary Dixon. Mother, I love you more than life itself. Happy birthday once again. Happy birthday. Happy heavenly birthday, Dad. Happy heavenly birthday to my grandfather, Conway Jones. We'll see you Thursday, live, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Send this episode. Make it go viral. Must See TV. And until Thursday, live right here on the Geno Jones Show YouTube channel at 6:30. As always, be blessed. Pray for peace. Thanks for watching. And thanks to AJ Davis for being my guest again today.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.